Hello, and welcome to Art, Creativity, and Wellbeing. This is the show where we are working to support you in giving as much care and love for yourself as you do for those that you love, those that you serve, those in your world. I am Kay. I am Kay Lock Culp. I'm a coach, I'm a creator, I'm a thru hiker who used to need a wheelchair, and I'm so excited because I'm here today with a wonderful human, a wonderful woman. We're becoming friends, which is so lovely to have met somebody new and someone who's doing such good work in the world. She is a violist and she is a pleasure activist, and her name is Meena Bhasin. Meena, thank you for being here today. I'm so glad to be able to welcome you into what I'm sure is going to be a wonderful conversation.
Yes, I am so happy to be here and already feeling full, which is
Mm.
amazing.
Yeah, it's a lovely place
Yeah.
to begin, isn't it? Where you already feel that.
Mm,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
speaking of beginning, can you take us into, I think I'm actually gonna, I'm curious, like, what is life like now for you? Like,
Mm,
I don't know, what's special? We started talking about serendipity today. Like, what feels aligned for you and in the
mm,
work that you do and in your life, in your world?
mm. I love that question. What a great way to open. It's kind of like if we were to take a slice, right? Like a slice or a snapshot into our lives.
Yeah.
Um, Yeah, I feel really, I feel a lot of gratitude for the current life I am living. And I want to say that has not always been the case. So it's really nice to be able to think about alignment and say, yeah, I mean, I think almost everything I'm doing in my life feels totally aligned with what I'm here to do and what I believe in my heart um, is my truth. So the first thing that comes to mind is I am a mother of two kids, ages like almost 6 and 7.
Mm.
And I am also the mother, co-parent of a concert series in San Francisco. Um, and I run it along with my husband, and it really feels like a child that we've been nurturing also
Oh.
really steeped in community. It's in a small neighborhood in San Francisco called Noe Valley. And we're really kind of practicing the world as it could be through this series, which is that's a line that Valerie Kaur says that really, really resonated with me. She's an author and activist. And I just have really kind of taken that mission on, like how can I practice the world as it could be? And that's what we're doing in this concert series, which is how do we make the arts a absolute central, vital piece of civic life?
Mm.
And what does it mean to center the arts in every neighborhood? And let's just use, the one that we happen to live near as an example of that. We have programming for, we bring in the world's greatest artists to perform for adult audiences, but also kids' interactive performances.
Wow.
We host concerts for neurodivergent youth. We host something called the Lullaby Project, which pairs mothers and parents with professional singer-songwriters to write original lullabies for their children. Um, yeah, we're going to start doing concerts, lunchtime concerts in the town square, and we do well-being concerts that really integrate music into the body, and again, bringing the highest quality musicianship in for a concert format that is also, meant to be a place to tap into your well-being and receive on all levels. So anyway,
Mm.
I'm kind of going on about this concert series, but I think it's interesting as a vehicle for putting out into the world what I really imagine the world could look like, right? If we all kind of played our part in creating that sense of community care, and in my case, doing it through music, doing it through the art form that I know best.
Mm.
Um, So yeah, that's a huge piece of my life. And then um, I also work with I work primarily with women in this pleasure activism work, but which is more about really tapping into the body and the wellspring of love that is available to us in our bodies as as source as fuel to
Mm,
actually be the energy from which we create or the rest of our lives, from which we live and source the rest of our lives. And so that is its own kind of music and movement and meditation practice, um, that I also, yeah, practice both, kind of trying to weave it into what I do in my concert series at times, and then
mm,
also really in its own world, because it often really requires privacy and safety and community in a different way. So um, yeah, they're all things I really care deeply about and feel absolutely like the ingredients that have gone into creating the essence of Meena in this world. Because I
mm,
think we all have our very distinct essence. That I'm trying to kind of these all feel like the expression of my essence,
mm.
and the ways in which I am here to serve. So yeah.
Oh, wow. Um, Thank you for that. I'd love to hear about how you got here, right? But just before that, um, the world lost Catherine O'Hara I think it was about a few months ago. Catherine O'Hara just an absolutely brilliant comedian. And one of my favorite roles that I've ever seen her in was that she plays the mom in Schitt's Creek, which is this very silly but so heartening show. And she's done many other things and um, someone asked her, this came to me through a friend who saw an Instagram post or video of her um, that had been recorded at some previous point, but it was played or it came up after she passed away. And it was someone at in the airport. Somebody asks her like, "What's the best role, or what's your favorite role that you've ever played?" And she said, "You know what? Uh, my favorite role." She said I'm not going to get it exactly, but she basically said, "The one that's mattered the most to me and the one that I've enjoyed the most is that of being the mother to my children."
Mm,
And
mm,
so we hear you saying all of these amazing things that you're doing and with these beautiful, I mean, I see so much overlap in the sense of music is about pleasure in our bodies. Like we hear it with our ears, right? And it creates feelings. Something I've been thinking about a lot lately is how feelings are called feelings because we feel them in our body. Like somewhere in your
mm,
body you feel
mm,
things, right?
mm.
And that's why we
Right,
have feeling.
right.
Anyway, and
Mm,
then you share about the pleasure activism and working with people to help them tune into that and tap into that. Um, Everything that you're doing is an expression of this is how it feels like to me. You're not going out into the world and convincing people to come and listen to your music by dragging them there by the hand, right? Or something like that. You're
mm,
saying this is available to you if you'd like to, if you think you would enjoy it.
mm,
And if you'd like to go deeper with that, here are some other ways it feels like. And then
mm,
underneath it all is um, your understanding that your enjoyment, your well-being helps everyone,
mm.
is at the
Yes, well,
heart.
for sure. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah. So
yeah, yeah. Mm,
that it just feels
mm-hmm,
like that's where you are, you
mm,
know?
mm,
And I'm loving that. I love hearing that and seeing it, right? Because I can see body language and it's just like, it's a breath of fresh air to be in this
mm,
room with you. And I'm super
mm,
curious what the journey has been like to get here.
mm-hmm.
A
Did you notice the body language shift already? As I was like,
little bit of,
oh,
yep,
yeah,
yep.
yeah. No, I mean, and it's so talk about gratitude. I've been actually just in like maybe I'm like day 11 or something of a gratitude practice right now, and I just appreciate like this question too, right? Taking stock of where does the gratitude come from? It comes from the fact that like I don't take it for granted. It hasn't been my life story. I haven't been living in pleasure like my entire life. And of course,
Mm,
I'm not. I mean, I'm also not every day, right? Like that would feel put on. Like to say that it's not a practice, to say that it's not something that takes cultivating and a muscle that takes continuous, um, what's the word? Like intention and, yeah, carving out of space. And so I just want to say, I mean, I'm one of those people who, is just so cognizant of uh there's no perfect and there's no, oh, that person just like snapped into being able to like live a pleasure filled life. It's like no, every day I'm trying
mm,
to connect and remind myself and set alarms for myself, literally,
mm,
to take a break for 5 minutes and do something that brings pleasure to my body. So anyway, um yeah, I think it's really interesting the reflection on how it all started because I think the musical journey, which started at age 4,
mm,
um, is filled with both uh, pleasure in the way of like knowing that music was this vehicle that resonated deeply in me, and yet the containers that I was often in um, often felt like they were almost sucking it out. Like
mm,
they were actually like, these intense classical music. I mean, just as an example, I come from the classical music world. Usually when you start that young, and I did it pretty intensely and I was concertizing at a young age, there's a lot of work that goes into it. And there's a lot of, this is right, this is not right. Like, you got to learn the rules before you can break them and all that kind of stuff. And you're a kid, you're just kind of taking it in. And I think it wasn't until I don't know. I mean, I think I had many moments of like, do I want to stop? Like, burnout along the way, but definitely my like pinnacle of burnout is not that long ago. I mean, is probably like 10 years ago or something where I
mhm,
was like, this isn't working. Like I love this thing and I don't want to let it go, being a musician, but it feels, I mean, I feel the worst I've ever felt. I feel absolutely, instead of it being a source of confidence, it feels like a source of anxiety. It feels like I'm not good enough. It feels like I'm not, um, uh, keeping up. Like it feels like I mean, I don't know, just all of these like really, um, eating away at myself kinds of feelings around the art form. And I think, or me as an artist, and I think being able to kind of take stock. I moved to San Francisco 10 years ago about, and I am from New York, and I was doing the New York freelance thing
mhm,
among other things, but I was definitely in that, and it was very much about what do other people want, and how do I make myself desirable, hireable,
mm,
uh how do I keep myself relevant, how do I like make people, yeah, how do I make myself someone that, yeah, I mean all the things, right? Just meets whatever standard, meets whatever, yeah, it's just palatable, right? Like
mm,
anyway, the focus was so much on that and not on like what do I actually want to be doing, and like how do I make sure that everything I'm doing is absolutely aligned, like I was just describing, right? It felt really hard to get out of the hamster wheel of that in New York, um, for a lot of reasons. And there was an opportunity to move out here actually through my husband. And I was like, you know what? Great. Like, here's a chance to clean slate, like the break I've been waiting for, to like
mm.
breathe and take a moment for myself to actually see what I want to put on my plate, take everything off and see what I want to put on.
See what you want to
Um,
put on there. Yeah.
right? Because it can feel, yeah, I mean, I wonder if this is an experience that, I think it is an experience that many, at least performing artists, feel a lot in terms of like being chosen and,
Mm.
um, feeling like you're trying to kind of fit into this thing that exists. And, um, anyway, so uh, I can take a pause here or I can keep going. You tell me. But I mean, I would say that yeah, that's a bit of the backstory.
Yeah, no, I love it. I think what's really coming through is I mean, these are literal performances, and there's a lot of judgment in that world. There's a
Mm-hmm.
lot of like, you must do it this way. You're not allowed to feel any different than this. And if you do, we won't hire you.
Mm.
So, hmm,
Or definitely a fear of that. And in some
yeah,
cases, true, definitely. And in some cases, maybe not. But, when you're trained to fall in line, it feels scary to not also.
yeah, yeah. It because it's so interesting how when you, I mean, I don't know the classical world particularly well, but in lots of other spheres, I think authorship, for example, like book
Mm-hmm.
writing, right, is something where um there's oh my gosh, there's coaches and there's agents and there's publishers and there's all these people who are you know positioned to tell you what will work or not. And yet the successful authors find a way, not maybe this is not universally true, but so many find a way to do what feels natural to them, what they want, what and the resulting books are just amazing, right?
Mm.
So
Yeah.
there's I'm just thinking of a book that I read a couple of years ago that actually my youngest son recommended to me because he knows my tastes and he was reading this book in school. He was like,
Mm.
they were reading it in class, and he said, "Mom, I think you'll really like this book. It's
Mm.
called This Is How You Lose the Time War."
Mm.
And it's like such an
Mm.
interesting,
Mm.
quirky book that somebody somewhere, two people in fact conceived of and wrote, and it's like this is
Mm.
awesome, you know. But you can see, I don't know, I think about an author like J.K. Rowling, for example. I believe it
Mm.
said that she wrote to 50 agents or 75 agents or something like that, and 74 of them were like, nope, we don't see this going anywhere.
Okay. Yeah.
So what you did is you saw a pathway to take you out of all of that kind of not tuning into yourself, but instead tuning into the what others want, and you took it.
Yeah, I think I felt pretty desperate to take it, honestly. But yes, like it was like, what will give me? Because I could have probably. I mean, I remember thinking when I was living in New York, like, this, like, how do I get out of this? But I couldn't figure it out because I was so entrenched in it. And my husband's a violinist, and we worked together a lot. We had this organization and ensemble together, and it was just, it felt like I was just, how could I pause? Like what, and
Mm,
so, but I desperately needed it. And so, yes, the moment I was given the permission slip, whatever I thought the permission slip was, in this case, a big move
yeah.
where I didn't have a job and I could just kind of take my time to figure it out, to really be like, okay, like reset, yeah. And I think I mean, just a few years into that reset, 2 years into it, I got pregnant. And that was like a whole sort of, I don't know, like volcano. I don't know what the right, I don't know, like eruption
New
of
journey.
um burst of sort of, yeah, new journey. And like in mostly also in the way I just saw the world. Like it just changed my whole perception. But I was open to, like, because I was in that pause place, like, yes, I was doing things and I had filled my time with, various things I was excited about, but I had the time and space to really like be like, what is this? I like, this is incredible. I can create life. Like I hold the power and the keys to like all of humanity in my body. I mean, there was just such crazy, explosions of like, I've seen the world, this all makes sense now. Like the feeling that I don't fit in and that like, yeah. Anyway, there were a lot of things that came together and started to just um become I don't know, like little seeds that all were starting to be planted around what then has come into being, which is clearly very much why I've been a musician my whole life, like the why of it and the connecting to, yes, music, but also, you know, what I'm here to move in humanity and in like the world at large, and like music as the vehicle, which has always felt true. Like music is the vehicle, not the end.
Mm-hmm.
For me, I've
Mm.
always kind of known that.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah.
Yeah.
And how did you, I won't, it doesn't sound like a shift, but like, how did pleasure activism come into your life?
Yeah, well, I think what's really cool is that I thought I created the concept. I mean, not the concept, but I thought I was like, this is just this idea of like pleasure and activism, putting the two together,
Mm-hmm.
in my own concept kind of came into being from lived experience. And I will tell you a little bit more about that. But it turns out it's a thing. It's a thing. And I did not create it myself. I did not create it myself. In fact, there's a book by Adrienne Marie Brown, who is an incredible social justice warrior and author, um, called Pleasure Activism. And it was so cool to kind of realize that after the fact, right? Because that I don't know if you've had that experience, but I always feel like it's so satisfying on the one hand to be like, oh my God, I thought I created this, but actually this exists. And to have come to it not because you went out to learn it, but because you lived experience brought you to that conclusion.
Mm-hmm.
And to kind of have that like confirmation of like, oh, like it's not just me, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And the flip side of that is that you could think you invented something and you didn't, right? So, which can also be like, sort of like, ah, too bad, you know. But in this case, it was like, oh my God. And Audre Lorde has this essay called uses of the erotic, or the erotic as power. Yeah, I think that's what it's called. Uses of the erotic as power. Um, which she wrote in the 70s, and is an essay that is, also kind of the inspiration around even Marie Brown's work. And um, which is really this concept of like we all need, deserve pleasure. It's the sort of liberation around pleasure is not for certain people. And there's no hierarchy to it. So there's that kind of piece of the activism. And then there's this idea that like, um, yeah, I mean, for me, it comes from a place of we have it all upside down the way that we live, like the way that the world is set up. This idea that you work your whole life to reach this, like, to eventually, when you die, go to a place where you may be in pleasure all the time,
Mm-hmm.
versus like pleasure is here on earth. We are here to live from love. How do you live from love? Like you source your body, you fill your body with love, like with love hormones, and with what that energy actually, the frequency and the energy of what it is, like be that, like. And when how do you receive that and how do you be that? I mean, you have like it's a whole, you know it's a practice, it's an intention, it's a way of living that feels the complete opposite of everything I've ever been told, anyway, in terms of
Mm-hmm.
like what you're supposed to do, which is work hard. Like, don't, okay, you can take time for yourself at the end of the day when you've done all your things, and then maybe you've deserved, to receive some pleasure. But like, how can we just keep putting out when we haven't filled up? It
Mm-hmm.
just like, anyway, there's so much around that in terms of how we treat the earth, in terms of the lack of reciprocity in anything that we tend to do. It's very extractive. It's very, we do that to our bodies, what we do to the world around us. So anyway, there are many layers of what pleasure activism can be. But my real, I think the ways that it resonated were like both in that I have always known pleasure as the way for me to feel my emotions most fully,
Mm-hmm.
while being held in safety and beauty. So, like, that's to me what music was always. Like, I have so many memories of being a middle schooler, high schooler, like playing certain songs on repeat in my room while I would like cry and just like be in that, bittersweet feeling of like this hurts so good, like unrequited love, and like, all those angsty emotions you're moving through that are, probably are definitely brought on by hormones and the like sort of development process there. But I loved leaning into music as just this place to be like held as I, let myself feel it all. And um I didn't realize then that this is what I was tapping into. I mean, this is a practice that I then came to after becoming a mother and learned through something called Ishtara, which is really all about like, kind of synchron. It's music, movement, sisterhood, you know, therapy in the sense that you're really kind of moving emotions through in a very intentional space. But it's what I think I was tapping into very organically younger and earlier in my life, and I didn't realize like, oh, this is a thing. Like this is a tool that we ought all have at our fingertips,
Mm,
because how else are we meant to um, feel it all in a world that is too much? I mean, there's just, right, like you can shut down and go numb so easily. We need tools. Pleasure is absolutely a necessary tool, and if we don't allow ourselves to think we even deserve it, or yeah, that we don't even deserve it, then like we're stopping so short of finding that tool for life.
mm. Thank you. Yeah. And you know what immediately comes to mind is how how the communication of there's like the expression in my head is do as I say, not as I do.
Mm,
So the people around us who love us and who loved us as children wanted us to feel pleasure. They wanted
mm,
us, they loved us, they wanted us to enjoy ourselves. And at the same time, they were taking in from the world, you got to do things for others. You've got to wait for your pleasure. You've got to wait for your reward, right? Like,
mm,
and what did we internalize? I mean, I'll use myself. I say we, but I
sure,
certainly
yeah.
internalized the message that was the doing, not so much the message that was the saying. You should enjoy yourself is what I was being told. But underneath that
Mm,
was, I'm not doing that. And so I'm role modeling not doing that. And that came from so many people. It wasn't just one person. It was from the sort of the real environment. And so that's been such an interesting journey to sort of look at that, be curious about it, see what happens. And I was speaking with someone recently who's got a thriving professional practice
mm,
of work, like in the world, and who has a parent who's just become ill, and the other parent has passed on. And an aunt said to them, well, I mean, I should say too, it's a practice that they do from home. It's remote. So the aunt was like, well, okay, well, you're at home all day. Why don't you just take off whatever you're doing and look after your mother? And this person was like, um,
mm,
and like the messages can be so hard. Um,
mm,
and remembering to this is something else I wanted to reflect back because I love that you brought it in was I'll finish what I was just going to say, which is remembering that we can pour from a full cup, remembering that everything else goes better when we feel good inside. Um, feels like it's the way that you said it before was, oh my goodness, I'm blanking, which is so funny. Uh,
no, that's okay. I mean, I don't remember how I said it before, but I mean, it's sort of like needing to receive love in order to fuel what you then, right? Like we need to be
yeah,
able to fill up our tanks. I
yeah,
mean, on some level,
yeah.
be
And if you
that's what
don't, everybody suffers, not just you, but everybody, right?
yeah. Oh, 100%. Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. No,
eh,
and yeah, go ahead.
well, no, I would love for you to finish that thought because I have there's a way I'd like to take the conversation, but let's stay here for a moment. Yeah,
Great.
well,
Great. Yeah, no, I was just gonna to add to what you're saying, because I think 100% like I do as I say, not as I do. Yeah, I mean, there's right. A lot of people will talk about how we don't have examples. Like we don't examples of seeing people live from a place of rooted pleasure, right? We're not talking about the pleasure that happens in this kind of more toxic, escapist kind of way, but in more of a like actually embodied kind of way, like
hmm
leaning in to what's happening inside and like right, getting curious about that as opposed to the escapism, because I think
Yeah.
that's another thing that people get kind of, the word pleasure can be triggering in certain ways, and misconstrued because of
Yeah.
society's way of, right, either making it hypersexual in some way or making it this sort of gluttonous thing. But the other thing I was going to say is, like, to me, the system of capitalism and, patriarchy also, right? There's like, they fit together very neatly. But I mean, capitalism is absolutely a, get the most out of you kind of thing in its setup. It's like, be as productive as possible. The sky's the limit. But like, you just have to work hard and do that. And then it's also like, let us sell you pleasure. Like, let's
Hmm.
commodify it. Let's turn it into something that we can then also build into the capitalist system. So it's like, it's both like anti-pleasure and it's also for pleasure when it can sell it to you.
Mm.
But the idea of what we're talking about here is pleasure that is available inside your body for you to experience. It actually needs no input from anything but essentially like nature.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, it, everything is available. It's your senses, right? That's what we're talking about in terms
Yeah.
of like pleasure. It's like being in your senses, being able to receive a deep feeling of satisfaction through any of your senses when you're really present to the moment.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that can happen in so many ways, most of which have nothing to do with anything you would ever buy.
Yeah.
You know, right? Or you don't need to anyway. So I just, yeah, I just wanted to say, like, to those who raised us and who were, like you say, like, absolutely one of the best for us, like, the blame is so far beyond any individual. It's like, it's the setup. I mean, frankly, it's the setup of this country in the first place in the US.
It's
Like,
this
it
sort
was
of the
set up
system.
this way.
And as
Yeah.
you were speaking, I'm remembering what it was that you said before that
Mm,
sort of keeps coming up for me, which is it isn't about perfectly being in pleasure all the time, right?
mm, mm,
It's it's returning to it maybe when you get pulled off
mm,
of it, or remembering if you're if you're the awareness to be able to think like, is what's going to come out of my mouth right now, first of all, going to be helpful? But second of all, like, why am I feeling like saying it? What in me is disturbed in here? And sometimes for me, it's been like, oh, I haven't eaten in
mm,
6 hours or something.
mm,
I haven't
mm,
gotten any outside time today or
mm,
whatever. Like everybody will have
mm,
their their thoughts or their things. But yeah,
mm,
and thank you for that. I think it's the way that the system works can feel so personal or personally uh, disengaging or assaulting,
yeah.
and the audacity, the bravery to say, well, actually, I don't have to accept what's coming at me. I can pause, I can feel, and I can go from there, right? Um, I'd love to shift because we've there's a word that I've only pretty recently gotten good at understanding and embodying, and that word is agency.
Mm,
And then a word that we've spoken of quite a bit today is activism. And I feel
mm,
like I'd love to talk a little bit about maybe the nuances of each of those words if you're interested, but certainly
sure.
activism because I
Yeah.
feel like people can be active or activists without really declaring that for themselves. It's about what rather than, I don't know, a definition. But in this case, it feels like a definition is important. Does
Mm,
that make sense?
sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's interesting. I don't know. And now that you're saying this, I'm like, oh, I don't know what the dictionary definition would be. I mean, I've looked it up before in terms of activism, but I mean, what I think of, I'm just like sort of say it in terms of how it lands for me and how I feel it in my own identity, because I've not identified as being an activist,
Mm,
um, per se, historically. Um, but I feel like to me, it's about putting a stake in the ground, really being like extremely um, sort of clear about your values, and um, I mean, I don't, the extreme version is a bit like, what you're willing to sort of die for, right? But I mean, that's a sort of extreme version of it. But it's this real stake in the ground for like, I stand for this. Like,
Mm,
this is in my heart of hearts, like I just, yeah, I'm unwavering on these principles, on these values. And the activism piece is like, to me, is like the combination of the stake in the ground with this um, sort of willingness to have that be amplified, to have that be felt by others, to have it be known. Um, and to really, yeah, I mean, what I think of it as is also like, I don't want to, it's not unwavering in a sense that's like inflexible because obviously like we all are learning all the time and things change, but it's this sense of like, I'm not hiding,
mm,
there's a leadership in it of like, I will go first. I love thinking of leadership as that, like the willingness to go first.
mm,
Um, and to really just like be, yeah, I don't know, be bold in your claiming of your values, um, and your stakes in the ground. So, I mean, there's so many ways to like be an activist. I feel like we're so used to thinking of it as just the protest signs.
mm-hmm,
Um, and the people being sort of dragged out by police from various places that they're, not supposed to be or whatever. But that's just one taste of it. I mean, I think there's so many ways that if we start to like claim that word in our lives as just what do I stand for? What do I really deeply care about? What are my values? Then, we may become, yeah, I mean, we may feel that sense of, oh, maybe I am an activist about these things.
mm.
Um, what does it mean to kind of take that out into the world beyond just your personal bubble or your thoughts?
To
And
be
like that
willing to be
manifests. So
seen
yeah.
is something that
Mm,
really, really hit home. Because I have recently rediscovered fiction and the ability to read it. So I got a head injury in 2020, end of the day before Christmas Eve on in 2022. I was injured rock climbing actually, and um, for years I've not felt the same connection to books and written print as I used to just be able to get into a story and it felt
mm,
so good.
mm,
And I've been healing. I think even recently I've been healing up to 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 the point where uh, I I'm enjoying books again in a written form. And part of
mm,
that has been what are the books that appeal to me now? Like in really kind of questing for that. And it's been so interesting because sometimes in here I'll hear things like, "Oh, these are my secret shame or my guilty pleasure." I'll hear in my
right,
head, and
right.
I'm like,
Yes.
"Boy, that's not a. I don't
Mm,
love that exactly." You know what
mm,
I mean?
yeah.
So,
Yeah.
I think, and I love that you bring leadership in as well because it's such a the concept of standing up in front of people, not in a performative way, but just to say, "Yep, this is me."
Yeah.
Um, gives them the opportunity to also do that for themselves. And so then we have
Right.
more and more people sort of saying, "Oh, well, okay, if she's going to sit down with a warm beverage at 8 o'clock at night and read for an hour, perhaps what's my version of that, you know?" And so saying it's about going
Mm,
first in some ways, in these ways that can feel really opposite to what we're told we're supposed to be doing or what we're supposed to expect. So I love
mm.
that. I love that.
Yeah, I mean, I think so many of us are waiting for permission slips for all sorts of things that we would actually really want to be doing. And as soon as
Hmm.
someone else does it, you're like, oh, thank you for giving me permission.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, I feel that. I have felt that many times. Yeah.
Mm. Wow. I cannot believe how quickly this conversation has gone.
I
And I'm
know.
curious if there's anything coming up that uh either that we haven't addressed yet or something that you feel like you really want to share or acknowledge as we are wrapping
Yeah.
up.
Hmm. Yeah, I mean, I guess a couple of things. I I imagine that for many listeners, there is a desire to lead our lives from love. And there's this sense of like, yeah, I want to do good in the world, and I want to be kind to my neighbors, and I want to, yeah, all the aspirations. I'm gonna assume that if you listen to Kay's show, there's there's an alignment there with who I know she is.
Mm.
And I just want to kind of invite in this idea of like expanding, because I know, Kay, you also talk a lot about like the tools that we have available. I guess I'm kind of want to expand the possibility of the ways that we get into this love running through our bodies, and this place that we then can effortlessly source love, right? Because I don't know, just for myself. I mean, there are many days where I'm like, I don't have the capacity to give. Like I'm running on empty. I'm not it's just really hard. Like, yes, I want to be a good person, but like I may be short with whoever, my
Mm.
kids, whoever. Because I just don't have that extra to give. And so I just feel like the more we build up the arsenal, oh, that's not the word I want. Because of but like the toolbox. I mean, the,
Yeah.
the the things that we have available to us. Um, I like just even having like a list going of like on any in any given moment, okay, I have a few minutes to myself, or in between things or whatever, or I'm going to plan in that 5-minute break, every hour in my day or whatever. Just having a list of like things that you can do to tap into that frequency of love. Because it can often just feel like, I don't know, what can I do? In that moment you
Mm.
forget everything. So I've just been starting to like actually build my own list that I'm gonna, definitely share out. And I don't think, none of it is necessarily this like never thought of that before, but the ability to then be like, oh my gosh, I have all of these things that like are available to me that actually don't take much
Mm.
to do in any moment. Yeah, so I'm just kind of like inviting that, because for everyone it is different, right? What might bring them the most pleasure. For me, like what I am what was describing earlier in terms of my own practice and offering to the world, what I have really kind of been honing um, as a guide is around music and movement. And yeah, I actually offer something called it's called pleasure as power.
Mm.
Really meant to be this idea of like, a practice that you can go into to feel your power through tapping into pleasure in your body. And that really can be incredibly empowering as a way to, yeah, source your energy, and also just feel like you're really alive and really expressed, and really powerful. So I am gonna share that here. There's, on my website, which Kay will leave for you as well. You can access this sort of workshop. It's about 75 minutes experience to be able to get a taste of what that could feel like. I think um, even in small ways, then taking that 5 minutes to move to a song that might be in the energy of what you're feeling in that moment. So you're not bypassing it, but you're giving it space, and you're bringing love to the body as you feel that perhaps dark emotion, perhaps grief, perhaps rage, perhaps fear, anxiety, anything, but giving it space and room to be loved and to be seen so that it can move through you, is can be really, really powerful, as a way to, again, like bring love, source from love,
Mm.
um, and love yourself. Really, that's what. Yeah, I mean, we all deserve that, just the receiving of love,
Mm.
which is what this can do. So yeah, that's like sort of the practice that I would love to be able to offer in my own, as a pleasure activist who believes in all of the ways. Here's something that feels very deeply personal to me and what I'm here to do and how I'm here to serve. Um, yeah, I think,
Well, that's beautiful.
yeah, yeah,
You've
okay.
just offered a couple different ways to really do it, right? Someone can put on music um and for 3 minutes move to to a song. Or remember, gosh, I mean, when you were saying before about being an adolescent and having those moments where you're in your room just feeling what the music is and crying and right all that
Mm.
that feels very relevant to me. Um, Everything from that, like a tiny little reset to
Mm.
a beautiful, generous offering that someone could experience simply by going to your website and is it so it's meenabhasin.com and that's where you'll
Yeah.
go, everybody. The link is in the show notes. And when someone gets there,
Yeah.
is it something that they can sign up for? So it heads so that this meditation or the 75-minute practice, does it go right into the inbox kind of a thing?
Yeah, you know what I can do is maybe what I'll do is share with you the link to go directly to it. And then
Sure.
you can also kind of surf around the web, the website if you want, but that way you can go directly to it. And I also, this is a way for you to just really dive in and get a taste of my work immediately.
Mm.
Um, I would also absolutely welcome conversations. I have only really been doing group work historically because I find that really just powerful as a container. But I also would really love to just speak to people who are interested in, bringing pleasure more into their lives. And I'd be happy to just have, a 20 to 30 minute conversation about how we can help you bring pleasure into your life.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just really want to do that. So I'm here to help and
Oh,
serve. So from there too, you can email me. You'll see a way to contact me on my website, or I'm also on Instagram at Sensual Reveler, and that'll be something Kay puts in here as well.
yeah,
So
the links will definitely
um,
be
yeah,
here.
get in
So
touch.
there'll be a link to this special meditation. Then there's also or this way of experiencing you to work with you. And there will be
Yeah.
what a lovely invitation to just get in touch and have a conversation about, you know, about bringing pleasure into your life and what that can look like. Yeah, and the links will
Mm.
for all of this will be in our notes. Wow. It's
Yeah,
gone
thanks,
so
Kay.
quickly.
I
What a
know.
great conversation. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just, when you connect with people who really just feel the same, right? If they're in the same, operating the same frequency, but like feeling the same sort of, I think, overall purpose of what life ought to be, which I
Yeah.
feel very much with you.
Yeah.
That's feels really nice.
You know
Yeah.
what's interesting too?
Thank
You
you.
said before, I wrote it down, um, about the decision to lead our lives. I believe you said from love, to lead our lives from love.
Mm,
And I was instantly reminded of earlier in the year, from when this comes out, probably a few weeks ago from when we're recording, I
mhm.
recorded and released a conversation with a police chief
That's
who,
right.
yeah, an
Mm,
American police chief.
yeah.
She happens to be the chief of the town where we both grew up right now.
Wow.
Um, and the conversation started around this idea that she learned at the National FBI Academy that
Mm,
leadership looks a lot like loving people, and she herself has turned that
mm,
into I lead my department from love. The leadership here
mm,
comes from love, and it's like you can just
mm,
see how that reverberates beautifully out into the community.
mm,
And I think it's so interesting that your work is so very different, but at heart, it's exactly the same. It's about leading from love
mm,
and choosing love,
mm.
living from love.
Yeah,
It's like, wow.
what a beautiful tie-in. I mean, I need to listen to that episode because I remember when you told me, I was like, I want to know more. That sounds amazing. I mean, we just again, it's like the examples of practicing the world as it could be, right? Or
Yep.
um, yeah, that's really incredible.
And I
So,
think it
yeah.
feels like what we're doing here is kind of becoming aware ourselves and then sharing that out about a
Mm, mm,
constellation that was not visible before to me anyway of people who are really doing this. Like we started
yeah.
out today, you saying I wanted to, you didn't say it exactly this way, but you were like we wanted to be the change that we would like to see in the
Mm,
world. So let's
right,
start with our own
right,
neighborhood.
right.
Let's
Yeah,
have some
right.
fun right here. So
Yeah. Yeah. No, exactly. I love that idea of the constellations. I'm absolutely wanting to, yeah, just connect with more people who are doing, I mean, there's so many, right? I mean, that's the other thing. I've been, sorry, this is the last thing, but
Hmm.
I've been thinking a lot about that idea of what we focus on grows. And
Yeah.
just this sort of like, I mean, we talk about it in general, but like surrounding yourself with the things that you want to be thinking about and want to be inspired by. And like, because it's just, that's what we're eating essentially, right? Through all of our senses, or taking into our bodies. And so yeah, I've been thinking about that a lot as well. Like, how do I find those other people and those places and those really incredible examples um, of what beauty looks like in the world, what leading from love looks like, because there's so many people doing it. And like, you could be living a completely different life if, like, I'm just thinking about like, turning on the news and what you get hit with there versus like turning on the news of like the good and all the people who are just like, just being utterly inspired and like, how do we create that for ourselves? Um,
Yeah.
yeah.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Turning on the news, I just had this thought of a way of doing that is for us right now is going out to see how much maple sap is in the is in the maple tree bucket. You know,
Oh, it's so amazing.
it's choosing a song to dance to for a few minutes.
Yeah.
It's those are forms of news too. Like what made me think of it
Yeah.
was sometimes people will joke about how when they take their dog out for a walk and so that their dog can do what they do biologically, right? That is the dog reading the news. Like they're sniffing around, they're seeing,
Yeah.
who's been here, what have they got to
I
say, kind of
love
a thing.
that. So
Yeah, yeah.
true.
So, um,
Changing. I love that.
yeah, yeah. And it, it it makes me think, and as we are wrapping up, it makes me think of how being connected with our bodies, there's so much good information there that can help us know what we need, what we want. And when you say that about what we focus on grows, that is, I love that because it's such a neutral statement. If we're looking at the negative, that's what grows. If we're looking at the
Mm-hmm.
positive, that's what grows. It's not, again,
Mm.
not with perfection, but it's really about well-being, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. The active choice. Yeah. That's the
Yeah.
agency piece. Uh-huh.
Yeah. 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 Well, Meena Bhasin, thank you so much for
Thank you,
coming on the show
Carrie.
today.
Yeah. What a pleasure to be with
Yeah.
you. Thank
Yeah,
you.
same, same. Folks, you can find, as we've already said today, you can find Meena at her website, meenabasin.com. Links are in the show notes for there, for Instagram, and I highly recommend reaching out for a conversation because Meena's a lovely person and so
Mm.
so fun to talk with. And wishing you well today, our dear listeners and viewers, and hoping that there's some good, some good waiting for you on the other side of this conversation that you can go and enjoy. Um, yeah, thanks for being here, and we will see you next time.
You.